Good morning. I thought I'd do a video on the balance between doing and being. There are actually two facets to life, and you could also describe them as the horizontal and the vertical dimension. So we're all known with the horizontal dimension, that is the ever-changing life. This is what we call the world. So that is your daily life, anything that is seen, visible, that can be known. So it's in the broadest sense. It's a physical thing. It's any emotion, even any thought or sensation. Anything that has you could say, an objective quality to it. Now, this, we call it horizontal dimension, or I also used to refer to it as the level of form. It's, of course, has one element, and we all know it. It's ever-changing. And there's a beauty to it, but if you get lost in only that element, that aspect, then it's inevitable that at a certain moment the ride gets too rocky and you get tired. And on that level, if that is the only aspect to yourself that you know, then suffering is inevitable. Because what is form? Form actually means that you're adding an edge to an object. So you can only distinguish a tree from the air around it by saying, well, no, these are the edges. So this is the end of the tree, and that's where the air is, the sky or another tree, another element. And if you're totally consumed into the level of form, then you will take yourself also to be something that has edges. Now, some people would say, okay, I'm this physical body and the edges, and this is outside me and this is inside me. Some people might say, well, it's mostly my thoughts or my emotions. Either way you take it, even if you see it larger, now I'm like a part of this, of my surroundings, of my family, of my social group, it's still limiting. And as a result of it, it can never be fully satisfying. So it needs to be balanced with something that is unchanging, unwavering, something that amidst all is the same. And you all know this because if I ask you the question, what has always been there with you? If you look back to when you were 5 years old, there's a small boy or girl there. There was an element there that hasn't changed ever since. That was the same at 12 years old, at 18 years old, today, and the day you die or you leave this physical body. That unwavering, that unchanging element, that is the vertical element in your life. That is what I used to call the formless. So by having connection to both the form and the formless in life, you have a right proportion to be able to deal with anything, any challenging thing that can only arise on the level of form without losing yourself. It is this balance which is spoken about when the saying was to be in the world but not of the world. Most people are just in the world and they are totally absorbed with daily life, with the hectic things that come with the level of form. And it's normal, it's logical, there's actually a beauty to it. However, if you only know that, then suffering will ensue. So by balancing it out with the not of the world part, the vertical part, the silence, the peace, the element which is a space for anything in the horizontal world to be, then you are connected with both. Now, after being totally absorbed by the level of form for many decades, there was this need in me to go into the level of formless. There was not like, okay, I want to go into the level of formless, but I felt the need to go into silence. And that's where I retreated for a number of years, or at least a year completely, into sitting on park benches and being in nature. And I was getting so comfortable with totally being in that vertical, formless dimension, being unattached, being just the element in which anything arises. So the pendulum swung almost too far the other side, and it was time for me after, I think 5 years ago, that I felt, okay, I want to dive into life again. I want to integrate the horizontal aspect, the level of form, into my daily life and be able to connect to both the level of form and the level of formless. And going back to that saying, to the saying of being in the world but not of the world, that's when that balance is correct. When I was spending that time in the park and being only the emptiness, I was lost in the not of the world part. Before, for many decades, I was lost in the just of the world. So by balancing to be in the world but not of the world, you're balancing the horizontal aspect with the vertical aspect, the level of form with a level of formless. So connecting in daily life to that unchanging aspect, to that silence within you, that part that never changes, that was the same when you were a young boy or girl, that is the same now and will be the same the moment you leave this physical body. It gives you a solid ground to fully embrace this life and not being afraid that the level of form becomes something that you are restricted by. These are what also, and I don't have a religious background, but sometimes I read some text and it's so beautiful. It's like, oh, this is beautifully explained. Apparently, at a certain moment, Jesus was asked, how should we refer to you, by one of his disciples? And he said, tell them I am a movement and a rest. That's beautifully explained. It's the level of form, the ever-changing, the multiplicity of life, where nothing is solid, and there is the vertical dimension, the peace beyond all understanding. So I thought that was a fitting way to end this subject. Have a great day.